مالك يوم الدين. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين سيما بقية الله في الأرضين ولعن الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. إلهي أنتغني بالهدى وألهمنا التقوى. Time does fly, and believe it or not, tonight is the night before the 28th of the month of Ramadan. So at best you have 2 more days, or if the month is 30 days, possibly 3 more days, but it's not that big of difference. So 2 to 3 days of this month has been left. So I advise firstly myself, and then you all, to inshallah make sure that you benefit from the remaining hours and moments of this feast of Allah. هذا شهر المغفرة وهذا شهر الرحمة. We were talking about the letter of will of Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam, the 31st letter in the book Nahj Al-Balagha, that Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam wrote to his son Imam al-Mujtaba alayhi salam. On the very first portion, he introduced who he is as a father and who his son is as a son, not just Hassan ibn Ali. And then secondly, on the second paragraph, he explained in a very artistic and beautiful way, with a lot of hikmah and wisdom, what is the goal behind writing this letter. And on the third part, that basically covers the rest of the khutbah, Imam Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam is giving pieces of advice to his son Imam al-Mujtaba alayhi salam. But as we explained the other nights, these advices or these pieces of advice are not only confined or limited or restricted to Imam al-Mujtaba alayhi salam. It can benefit all of us. Indeed, it'll benefit all of us. So Imam said, أحيي قلبك يا أي بني أحيي قلبك بالموعظة. We talked about it. وأمته بالزهادة. We talked about it. وقوه باليقين. We talked about it last night. وَنَوِّرَهُ بِالْحِكْمَةِ. Enlighten your heart by hikmah. So let's think about and contemplate or elaborate on the word hikmah. What is hikmah? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Surah Luqman, the 31st surah in the Holy Quran, verse number 12. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا لُقْمَانَ الْحِكْمَةَ أَنِ اشْكُرِ اللَّهِ. We granted. He didn't obtain it. Even though he prepared the means himself, but we granted wisdom to Luqman. So what happens? And we said to him, be grateful, and ashkurillah. 2 things about this ayah. Number 1, what is wisdom? What is hikmah? When you look at the root, comes from, which is constructed from ha, kaf, mim. Hakama means something that restricts you or limits you, or something that stops you from doing crazy things. So on the horses, they used to put locks or restrictors on their feet, on their legs, and they couldn't jump crazily here and there. And that was called hikmah. So hikmah is a knowledge that makes you or forces you to have an action towards obedience of Allah, towards refraining from committing sins. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, رَأْسُ الْحِكْمَةِ طَاعَةُ اللَّهِ. the most important fruit of hikmah or wisdom is what that makes you obey Allah. And on the other notes, we have Ra'sul Hikmah, you all know it, Makhafatullah. Having the fear or being God-fearing, having the fear of disobeying Allah. Knowing how great He is, how high His status is. And Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam on another note mentions to us or defines for us al-hikmatu dallatul mu'min. Hikmat or hikmah is that lost object that the mu'min is always or constantly looking for. He will go and obtain hikmah or find hikmah or gain hikmah even if it is from the hands of the mushrik. Amir al-Mu'minin continues. That's how valuable hikmah is. And in this verse it says, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا لُقْمَانَ الْحِكْمَةِ. We gave him hikmah. So, can we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on these nights to grant us hikmah? Because it is i'ta'i, not iktisabi. It is something that needs to be granted. You can't just obtain it all by yourself. It's a reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to His good servants. And He gave it to Luqman because he was a very good servant of Him. Hikmah is that essence, is that factor that even if you're poor, it still makes you very popular and favored. People will be fan of you if you have hikmah, even if you're poor. Even if you're young, people will respect you as if you're an elderly member of the community. It is that actual wealth. That is what hikmah. And Amir al-Mu'minin says, Ya Hasan, enlighten your heart by wisdom. وَذَلِّلْهُ بِذِكْرِ الْمَوْتِ. Domesticate. ذَلِّلْهُ means muti'. Make it, in Farsi we say ram. Tame it. Make it tamed. Right? Look at the animals when they become tamed. They're okay and free to be in the presence of human. Make your heart to leave that wild spirit that it has, or wild nature that it has. If your heart is filled with that, tame it with what? بِذِكْرِ الْمَوْتِ. Domesticate it with the recalling of death. وَقَرِّرْهُ بِالْفَنَاءِ. إقرار. Confess. Make it believe that there is a perishment. Make it believe that there's an end in this world. This world is temporary, that you have eternity ahead of you. قَرِّرْهُ بِالْفَنَاءِ. There's a beautiful hadith. None of you are giving birth to your children in order for them to die at some point, at any age. None of you build your houses so that it gets destroyed one day. None of you collect all your monies even though that you know it'll all be spent at someday. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, narrating from Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam, that he said, Lidu lil maut, give birth for death. Lidu is the amr, is the order and command. Lidu lil maut. It should be uladu, the alif wa wav is being removed, so it's lidu. Lidu lil maut. Give birth for death. It shows the end of it. قرره بالفناء. Make sure your heart confesses that there is perishment. Lidu lil maut. Who gives birth to their children so that they die someday? Nobody. Vabnu lil kharab. build and construct for the sake of deconstruction or destroyment. وَاجْمَعُوا لِلْفَنَاءِ. You collect all this money here and there, and all of it will be spent in a blink of eyes. وَبَصِّرْهُ بِفَجَاءِ الدُّنْيَا وَبَصِّرْهُ فَجَاءِ الدُّنْيا. Open the eyes of your heart. Make sure you see the misfortunes of the life of dunya. These are all clarifying what قرره بالفناء is. وَحَذِّرْهُ سَوْلَةَ الدَّهْرِ. Fear or warn, إحذار. Alert, keep your heart at the state of being alert to what? The authority of the changes in time. وَفُحْشِ تَغَلُّبِ اللَّيَالِ وَالْأَيَّامِ. How day gets into night, gets transferred into night, and how night turns into days. وَأَعْرِضْ عَلَيْهَا أَخْبَارَ الْمَاضِينَ. Present to your heart, tell yourself, remind yourself of the news of those who lived before you. The Holy Quran says, قُلْ سِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Go around the earth. Go to United States. Go to Europe. Go to Africa. Go and visit all these historic sites. But remember one thing, you're not there to entertain yourself only. Enjoy it, but learn lessons from it. You go to pyramids in Egypt, in Cairo, think of the ending of all the pharaohs. Don't just go there and be amazed with the geometry and the architecture and so on and so forth. Remember their stories. أعرض عليها أخبار الماضين وذكره. All these ضمائر, the pronouns, return to the heart and remind your heart. And this heart that we mean is definitely not the cardiac muscle in our chest. It's the center of our spirit and soul. It's that aql that we have, that wisdom that we have, that center of wisdom that we have. ذكره بما أصاب من كان قبلك من الأولين. Remember what befell on the people who came prior to you or before you. وَسِرْ فِي دِيَارِهِمْ وَآثَارِهِمْ. Go around in their cities and look at the traces that are left after them. يَا حَسَنْ فَانْظُرْ فِيمَا فَعَلُوا. And look at what they did. وَحَلُّوا دِيَارَ الْقُرْبَةِ. وَحَلُّوا دِيَارَ الْقُرْبَةِ. Look that they lived in the وَأَمَّنْ تَغَلُوا. فَانْظُرْ فِيمَا فَعَلُوا وَأَمَّنْ تَغَلُوا. Look at what they did and to which destination did they go? Did they have intiqal and they made their way to? وَأَيْنَ حَلُّوا. حَلُّوا means when they open their tents and set up their tents. وَنَزَلُوا. And when they get down from their camels. فَإِنَّكَ تَجِدُهُمْ قَدْ انْتَقَلُوا عَنَ الْأَحِبَّةِ. You see that all of them pass away. They leave al-ahibba, their friends, behind. وَحَلُّوا دِيَارَ الْقُرْبَةِ. And they become the dwellers of the place that they're strangers in. Diyar al-Qurba, which is the hereafter. Look at the people who were before you. That's what happened to them. وَكَأَنَّكَ أَنْ قَلِيلًا قَدْ سِرْتَ كَأَحَدُهُمْ. And the same is waiting for you sooner or later. فَأَصْلِحْ مَثْوَاكَ. Know where is your destination. Know where is your eternal dwelling place. Mathwa. Mathwa. In Quran we have Mathwa Nar, right? You know where is your destination, where is your eternal residence, then do what? فَأَصْلِحْ مَثْوَاكَ. Make sure you build it ahead. وَلَا تَبِعْ آخِرَتَكَ بِدُنْيَاكَ. I read it fast through. in order to get this place. Don't sell your hereafter for this world. The Holy Quran describes these people. He says, إن الذين اشتروا الضلالة بالهدى. شما بگید. You tell me. فما ربحت تجارتهم. Quran is speaking in the language of 2023. A mindset of cost and benefit that always thinks about dollars. Quran speaks in their language. Says the trade that they're doing is not economically beneficial. It's absolutely 100% loss. فَمَا رَبِحَتْ تِجَارَتَهُمْ. And Amir al-Mu'minin says, don't purchase dunya with the price of the hereafter. This is going to be 70, 80 years. That's it. What are you giving away and what are you gaining? Brothers and sisters, this mindset comes really handy and helpful, especially when we are in the tests and tribulations of this dunya. And last but not the least, inshallah, with this, I will conclude tonight because I see a lot of eyes welcoming the sleep. It's the coma after iftar. فَأَصْلِحْ مَسْوَاكَ وَلَا تَبِعْ آخِرَتَكَ بِدُنْيَاكَ وَدَّعِ الْقَوْلَ فِي مَا لَا تَعْرِفْ. Hassan John, my beloved Hassan, when you don't know something, keep silence. Brothers and sisters, this is the most beneficial for all of us. I was in the center and we were sitting on a table, and one of the brothers there started asking me fiqhi questions. And before I start to answer, before I start to open my mouth, as someone he expected to be an expert, I don't know how true that is, but before I start answering, all the people on the table were answering ahead of me. Wrong answers. We go and we have a family member who is a doctor, and one member says, my feet is hurting. Everybody makes comments like, take that medicine, do this, break egg, do that. Wait, let the expert talk. In English, they say, no more comment from the peanut gallery, right? Have you heard of this? No more comment or no opinion from the peanut gallery. When all the people make comments about things that they do not have expertise on. Ya Hassan, Wada'il qawl, leave the talk, fima la yu'raf, or fima la ta'rif, in the things you do not know. Leave it aside. Oh, who said you have to make comments on every single topic that is out there? We have a very good time in our nights with iftar. We sit together and we have conversations. And I'm concerned about myself, so don't take it personal. How much of the conversations we have in iftar, even though it brings our hearts closer, inshallah, how much it is really beneficial for our akhirah and for hereafter? How much of it is something that we know certainly? Right? There's an all-nighter for the youth. Majority of our conversations are absolutely useless. And same goes with the family. The only place that it's good to be talkative and overexpressive or being really like talking, just even if it is lagh, it's at home with family members. Because that creates, it's not good for the spouses to be like this. They have to talk, sure. The father with the children, the mother with the children. Spend your time together. Have conversation. Because this is an area where it's needed. If they don't get satisfied in that dimension at homes, then it might create some more dangers outside of the home. But try to elevate the level of conversations at home too. How beautiful a home is when the spouses or the children, the family members, whenever they say something, it's out of hikmah and wisdom. See how beautiful and how sweet that life will become? Beautiful it will become. والخطاب فيما لم تكلف. And addressing when it's not your duty, when it's not asked for you. Aw Panahian was saying that during the time that the Iranian youth went to the fronts, to the battlefield with the Iraqis during the time of Saddam, he said that they had an akhlaq and etiquette in those war fronts. And it was that they would usually keep the secrets or keep things that were told to them unless if they were asked to expose it. So anytime we said, for example, I asked someone, what was the name of that person? They would reply, نگفتن که بگی. They didn't tell me to reveal it. They didn't tell me to expose it. How are we? We are the opposite. If someone doesn't ask us, please don't tell anyone. Sometimes it's a code. Like once you ask them, please do not tell anyone, you can guarantee that it's going to get everywhere. People from East Coast are going to call you, Sheikh Mahdi, what's that news about? وَدَعِ الْقَوْلِ فِيمَا لَا تُعْرَفْ. Put it aside. Al-qawl, the conversation or what you say, the word, on the things that you do not have absolute knowledge over. وَالْخِطَابِ فِيمَا لَا تُكَلَّفْ. And addressing in places and situations where it's not your duty to speak up. The same way it is good to keep silence when it's not your duty to address, the same way if it is your duty to speak up, and if you leave that and abandon that, that's a sin too. Someone does ghibah of a mu'min in front of you. It's your duty, brothers and sisters, to stand up and defend them. It's your duty to express your stance on the matter so that they would know ghibah is wrong. It's your duty if there's a majlis and the ghibah of someone, or especially a mu'min, is being rumored around or gossiped around, it's your duty to stand up and leave. That's the least you should do. If a reputation of a mu'min is being altered, it's your duty to stand up and defend them. If you do not defend them, expect your own reputation to go away one day and no one will defend you. Quran says, إِنْ أَحْسَنْتُمْ أَحْسَنْتُمْ لِأَنفُسِكُمْ. If you do good, you're only doing good to yourself. And if you do wrong, you're only wronging yourself. وَإِنْ أَسَأْتُمْ فَلَهُ. I say it in this way. I summarize it in this way. We do not have the power to do good for anyone except for ourselves. And we do not have the authority to do bad to anyone or to do wrong to anyone except to ourselves. In ahsantum ahsantum la'anfusakum. You pay charity, basically you're building your own akhirah. You're giving right to a brother or sister who does not have a right to masjid. You're making your akhirah easier, your own akhirah easier. The apparent picture or image is that they need you, but in reality it's you who need them. Who needs them. So inshallah, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us a control over our tongue. It's been said 40 sins on the day of judgment will be only for this little short body part that we have. This little short muscle that we have in our mouth. This tongue that we have. 40 sins. Oh Allah, protect us from ghibah. Oh Allah, protect us from kidhb. Oh Allah, protect us from tuhma. Oh Allah, protect us from altering the reputation of the mu'mineen. Oh Allah, protect us from breaking the hearts of the mu'mineen. Oh Allah, protect us from breaking hearts of everyone in this world. Inshallah. Assalamu alayka ya baba najat al-ummah. ويا رحمة الله الواسع. quick توسل إن شاء الله. صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله. به هر کوی و هر بزم و هر انجمن سرم خاک پای حسین و حسن. پدر در دو گوشم سرود این سخن که ای نازنین طفل دلبند من، حسینی بمان و حسینی بمیر، امیری حسینون و نعم الامیر. ز خون جگر پاک پاکم کنی، سپس عاشق سینه چاکم کنی، ز عشق و محبت هلاکم کنی، به صحن ابوالفضل خاکم کنی، که خاکم دهد بوی مشک و عبیر، امیری حسینون و نعم الامیر. آقا مولا افطارها به کام دلم زهر می شود، افطارها به کام دلم زهر می شود. آقای ما گرسنه و تشنه شهید شد، یا با عبدالله حسین. میگن اگر موقع افطار آب خوردیم یاد سید الشهدا بیفت، اما بعضی میگن موقع افطار آب اومد دستت نگاهش کن، یاد اون آقای بیفت دست در خنکای آب کرد، دست رو داخل آب شریعه برد، آب رو بالا آورد. یا باب الهوایج، این شبا نشد روزه ابوالفضل بخونیم، امشب قسمتمون شد شب دعای توسل. راوی نمیدونه از احوال سقای سید الشهدا بی خبره، از خودش نوشته فذکر عطش الحسین، میگه آب آورد بالا، یه چند دقیقه مکث کرد، دست و باز کرد، آب داخل شریعه ریخت. راوی میگه حتما آب آورد بخوره، یاد آتش حسین افتاد، آب و رها کرد. من میگم مگه میشه عباس یه لحظه از تشنگی حسین غافل بشه؟ شاید آب آورد بالا، گفت مثلا تو مهریه زهرایی ای آب، نگاه کن ببین اهل حرم از تشنگی دارن میسوزن. حیف اینجا تو شریعه باشی و کام آقات سید الشهدا و اطفالش تشنه باشه. مشک رو پر آب کرد، اما این مشک هیچ وقت به خیمه ها نرسید. عباس دلش میخواست شهید میشد، اما به مشکش آب تیر نمیخورد. میدونی عباس کی امیدش ناامید شد؟ وقتی دین آب از مشک جاری شده، خاک کربلا از این آب گل شد، مشک پاره پاره شد، اما این مشک به خیمه ها نرسید. بچه ها تو خیمه بیقراری میکنن، روزه میخوای بسم الله. با این که غم داشتیم صاحب علم داشتیم، عمومونو کشتن همینو کم داشتیم، همینو کم.
سید الشهدا رفت عمود خیمه علمدار رو بی هیچ حرفی کشید. یعنی دیگه کسی منتظر نباشه، دیگه کسی سوالی نکنه. صلی الله علیک یا قمر العشیره یا باب الحوائج. قیامت اسم ما رو بنویسن، روز خون شما، گریه کنه شما برامون کفایت میکنه. ان اللهم انا نسألك و ندعوك باسمك العظیم الأعظم العز الأجل الأكرم الهی بمحمد و علی و فاطمه والحسن والحسين وتسعة المعصومين من ذرية الحسين وبدماء شهدائنا وبإمام زماننا يا الله.
یا الله یا رحمان یا رحیم یا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دینک اکفنا یا قاضی الحاجات و یا کافی المهمات انک علی کل شیء قدیر. خدا این دست هایی که در به خانه تو دراز شده، اگر بالا میاریم دستمون رو به نشانه تسلیمه. خدایی که همه جا هست، بر احوال ما ناظره. خدای ما در به خانه تو تسلیمی. این دست هایی که در به خانه دراز کردیم، این دست هایی که بالا آوردیم، خدای از در خانه ات به حق باب الحوائج خالی بر مگردان. ماه رمضان داره تمام میشه، اصرار داریم یه قطره اشکی برای سید الشهدا بریزیم، چون امام رضا به ما یاد داد که گریه بر امام حسین گناههای بزرگ رو میپوشونه، از بین میبره، مورد بخشش قرار میده. خدایا به حق این ایام و لیالی ماه رمضان چشمهای ما رو در روضه سید الشهدا، در شنیدن ماه روضه و مصائب سید الشهدا خشک قرار نده. با گریه نکردن بر سید الشهدا یا نتونستن و گریه نتونستن کردن بر آقا ما رو عذابمون نده. داریم در قیامت بیچاره ترین آدم ها اون کسایی هستند که نتونستن تو این دنیا یه قطره بر سید الشهدا اشک بریزن. آقا جان این اشک ها رو موجب نجات و رهایی ما از آتش جهنم قرار بده. ما رو موفق به عمل به توصیه های امیرالمومنین علیه السلام در این کتاب شریف نهج البلاغه قرار بده، به برکت صلوات بر محمد و آل محمد. السلام علیک یا رسول الله، السلام علیک یا امیر المؤمنین، السلام علیک یا فاطمة الزهراء، السلام علیک یا حسن بن علی ایها المجتبی، السلام علیک یا حسین بن علی ایها الشهید بکربلا، السلام علیک یا علی بن الحسین زین العابدین، السلام علیک یا محمد بن علی ایها الباقر، السلام علیک یا جعفر بن محمد ایها الصادق، السلام علیک یا موسی بن جعفر ایها الکاظم، السلام علیک یا علی بن موسی الرضا المرتضی، السلام علیک یا محمد بن علی الجواد، السلام علیک یا علی بن محمد الهادی، السلام علیک یا حسن بن علی ایها الزکی العسکری، السلام علیک یا سیدی و یا مولای یا صاحب الزمان عجل الله تعالی فرجک، السلام علیکم یا اهل بیت النبوة جمیعا و رحمت الله و برکاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم والعصر ان الانسان لفی خسر الا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. صدق الله العلی العظیم.